times you've watched my videos and I've never once offended you, this might be the one that doesn't. And I'm talking to both you atheists and you religious types out there. Just be ready for that. Now, religion, the apparent cause and cure for all the world's woes. In this video I'm going to be examining a lot, but mostly referencing Christianity and Islam, because that's what I myself and most of you watching this video are most familiar with. I'd like to start with my own experiences. As a child, my mother insisted we go to church multiple times a week. She was very adamant about that. We never missed a day. And in church, I remember feeling welcome and having fun. My mother only attended black churches, so I was exposed to the gospel and the impassioned preaching and the hooping and hollering that was always fun to watch and be a part of. And of course my friends were there. Ha ha ha, yeah right, MK having friends. Shut up. It was always a pretty great time. But something always bothered me. There was always this air of fear. Don't do this or this will happen. Do this or this will happen. Live your life this way or this will happen. I remember being afraid as a child. I remember being in church and being afraid of what will happen to me if I did what the church told me was wrong. I specifically remember a play one church presented about the New World Order and the end times, and going home after that and having nightmares about it. But, as I'm sure many of you have already discerned in myself, I was very precocious. I was not a dumb child. It didn't take me long to start asking questions and understanding more. And it didn't take me long to understand what was happening. As children, my parents and your parents too felt the same fear I did. They were indoctrinated in the same ways I was. As a child, you were taught to believe something and never question it. And you didn't. You just believed it. This is coming from your parents, the same people that fed you and clothed you and housed you and made sure you were safe. What they were telling you has to be good. What they're telling you has to be okay. Right? And them as parents being raised that same way, feeling those same ways, of course they're going to feel they're doing right by their children, setting them on God's path, the right path to live your life by. But no one questioned any of it. Every generation is being led by the one before it because they were told to. You're not practicing faith, you're practicing fear. Fear is what drives most people to call themselves believers. They don't want to risk the alternative. They don't want to go to hell. No one asks questions. They allow themselves to be willfully ignorant. Which, quick side note, is exactly why many of you atheists out there identify as such. You are afraid. You didn't seek out any knowledge just to prove what you think either. You just really don't like the idea of a supreme power judging you and possibly sending you to a place you don't want to be. It's the same fear. You're just dealing with it differently. Anyway, many of you have little to no idea what you're actually following. You just go to church, nod your head, then leave. You don't know your faith. Almost none of you read your scriptures as much as you read your Facebook blogs. You keep up with the Kardashians more than you do your own God. And you damn sure don't practice your faith. You don't even abide by the Big Ten. You have a neat little list of don'ts and don'ts, and you don't even follow those, you lying, stealing, coveting fornicators. Let me tell you a couple of things you may not be aware of. In the book of Exodus, owning slaves is perfectly acceptable in the eyes of God. There are rules, but many ways for it to be done. Sometimes through war, sometimes through debt, sometimes through birth, sometimes willingly because there was no other option due to drought or famine. Hey, man, let me be your slave for 6 months. There's no other way for me to feed myself and my family. But yeah, according to the Bible, God says slavery is perfectly okay. The same is true in the Quran. It's very acceptable. Something else you might not know. In Deuteronomy chapter 21, verses 10 through 14, it is explained that during wartime, if you were to see among your captives a woman that you want to have, you can take her home, shave her head, trim her nails, then wait 1 month. After that, you can marry her and have sex with her. That's rape. A Bible thumper will argue it's not rape because you're married. And to that I say, you're insane. It's not suddenly something else because you married that person. You just invaded this person's town or village and slaughtered everyone. You just waged war against her people, killing her family, maybe her husband. That is rape. In verse 14, it even goes on to say, if you become tired of her, you are to let her go where she chooses. You are not to sell her or treat her like a slave, because you've already humiliated her. Now, why would they use that word? Because you forced her to marry? Because you forced her to fornicate? It's rape. That passage means rape. And the Quran is just as bad, if not worse. In the Quran, there is no term for rape. Rape isn't even a thing to have the possibility of being discouraged. In the Quran, there are 2 types of sexual intercourse: lawful and unlawful. The kind you have with your wife, and basically everything else. Premarital, extramarital, homosexual, everything else. And the idea of consent isn't expressed anywhere. The Prophet Muhammad himself committed acts of rape, not against any woman practicing his faith, But anyone else is fair game. It was encouraged, in fact. You heard me right. Rape was encouraged. All women that your right hands possess. And by that he means women captured during wartime or slaves. In Surah 4, verse 24, it is described that any captive woman that is married may be raped in front of her husband. In these passages, Muhammad's own men come to him and say, well, aren't we committing adultery if we do this? He leaves, comes back, and says, God told me it's okay. Do what you want. Now, in both books, in both faiths, people will tell you, well, these are old practices. This is the Old Testament. We don't follow these words today. And to that I say, this is your scripture, the Word of God, and you as a people, as a faith, have decided not to follow it. Your books say slavery is okay. Humanity said it isn't, and we abolished it. Your books say rape is okay. Humanity said it isn't, and we made it illegal. Even the most devout of us can agree on these things. When are we going to agree that the things in the New Testament are outdated? Yes, things like murder and theft, of course, are universally accepted as immoral, and that's fair. You should feel that way. But when will religion recognize that things like homosexuality aren't deserving of your demonizing? People are out here having sex outside of marriage and have the nerve to wag the finger at gay people. Your book says your sex is as sinful as their sex. And does no one find it odd that male homosexuality is damned over and over and over again, but not female homosexuality? In fact, if I'm not mistaken, it's only even mentioned once. Romans chapter 1 verse 26 says, because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural sexual relations for unnatural ones. That's it. That is the only mention of lesbianism I can find in the Bible. And all they're saying is, man, well, these guys are so blah blah blah, even their women are blah blah blah. And yeah, I guess, no, it's not the natural sexual design. You can't bump two vaginas together and make a baby. That's not the natural way of progressing a species. No. No. But that's all they say. There is no real damning of that act. The funny thing is, the very next verse reads like this, and I'm going to read it word for word so we don't miss anything. And the men, instead of having normal sexual relations with women, burned with lust for each other. Men did shameful things with other men, and as a result of this sin, they suffered within themselves the penalty they deserved. What? All you said about lesbians was it's unnatural, but for gay dudes, you go in, time and time again. Doesn't that seem like nonsense? Doesn't that seem like something a hate-filled straight man would say? Which brings me to my next point. The Bible, the Quran, was written by men, not God. They were written by men. Are you going to sit there and tell me not a single word in either of these books was written with what the author of these verses wanted? I mean, some things, a lot of things, were just kind of thrown in there. They don't have anything to do with anything. Like, okay, in 2 Kings chapter 2, verses 23 and 24, a man named Elijah is walking down the road when suddenly a group of boys come and mock him. They say, "Get out of here, baldy! Go away, bald head!" And he curses the boys in the name of God. And God sends 2 bears to maul 42 of these boys. God sends 2 bears to kill 42 boys because they made fun of a bald man. I haven't cussed in this video not once yet, but I want to right now because this is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. I want everyone watching this video to read just a few verses in the beginning of 2 Kings. You'll see Elijah doing good works for the Lord, and then out of nowhere, this happens, and then it's never mentioned again. Ever. There's no reference to it after that. No one knows who wrote 1st and 2nd Kings, but it's almost as if he was like, yeah, don't mess with Elijah. He's one bad mother. Shut your mouth. Hey, I'm just talking about Elijah. Who is the man that'll get your baby boys torn up by some bears? Elijah. Look, the world is changing. Things aren't the way they used to be. You don't have to live the way people did thousands of years ago. It's not logical. And I'm not asking anyone to give up anything or stop anything. Believe what you want to believe. Many of you are going to believe what you want no matter what, and that's fine. I think faith is beautiful. But understand what you're doing. Understand why you're doing it. Stop believing something someone told you just because someone told you to. In fact, I'll tell you some things to make you feel a little bit better about what you believe, and I'm going to use science to do it. The Big Bang Theory, the most widely respected and recognized explanation as to how the universe began, says there was a singular point of unimaginable density and energy. smaller than the head of a pin in the void of black nothingness, that erupted into brilliant, bright, blinding everything. In these first few seconds, the photon was created in the photon epoch. That's epoch, E-P-O-C-H. Photons. Light. And on the first day, he said, "Let there be light." Science recognizes that the first thing to be created was light. There was a study done by the University of California that found that every human being alive today shares a small portion of Y chromosomal DNA and mitochondrial DNA. You can only get Y chromosomal DNA from your father and mitochondrial DNA from your mother. Adam and Eve. Let me also say that these DNAs aren't contemporal. They don't come from the same time, which means that these two people almost certainly never met and bred. That might not make sense to you, but it probably would if you researched it. Ladies and gentlemen, with today's science, we can give sight to the blind, hearing to the deaf, and we can raise the dead. Now, who was the last person you knew that can do that? That's right. And that's because, just like Jesus, we are all children of God. We are all capable of the miracles that he was.
But MK, you don't really seem to endorse religion. How could you say that?
I can say that because I believe in God, just not the way you do. You don't need religion to believe in God. You just need the desire to believe. You don't need religion to be a good person. You just need the desire to do good. And that's all. Thank you for watching my video. And until next time. Alright guys, as I said before, I'm not renouncing religion, and I don't want you to either. I want you to research religion. There are good sides to all of them. Missionaries, charities, social works. And there are bad sides. Hate groups, extremists, terrorists. In all religions. Muslims have Al-Qaeda and ISIS. Christians have the Westboro Baptist Church and the Ku Klux Klan. Even Buddhists have the 969 movement. For crying out loud, there are Buddhist radicals out there. My point is, don't let this video be the end of your intellectual and spiritual journey. Learn about your religion and the religion of others. Trust me, it'll do you some good.